Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Ahoy, hoy there. Ye scalawags. Seems you arrived a bit early as I'm still setting up my audio and everything and getting my notes ready. The audio is pretty bad right now because I'm recording the videos coming from my phone, and I tend to record with my microphone, but I'm still setting up the microphone, so the audio you're receiving at the moment should be from the telephone, from the cell phone, whatever you want to call it. Now we're setting up the audio here, so now the audio should be a bit better. Is it going to be out of sync? Maybe it's going to be a bit out of sync. Does that mean that Golden Gunpowder is AI generated? Yes, it does. Anyway, just allow me to get my drink here. If you're wondering what we're drinking today, this is instant coffee mixed together with a spoon of cacao and a generous serving of rum, Captain Morgan. So, cheers. There we go. That ought to keep me awake through all of these inane, no, I'm just kidding, interesting questions. All right. Let's see here. So I do have some notes that I'm going to be working through. It's basically like a script, because if I don't have like a script or whatever, there is a risk that I'm just gonna be rambling or whatever. Which is also why I'm gonna be looking here, you know. It's to show disinterest in you, to make myself more appealing and mysterious to you, you know. I use all of these tactics that I learned from Andrew Tate, you know. I taught him some of my techniques in, you know, human trafficking. You know, we have a lot of experience in it, you know. Shipping people, you know, to and from across the ocean. He had a few things to learn, you know. We've been doing that for quite a while, you know. 400 years going on, you know. We're experts in it. Ship some slaves to Jamaica, you know, make a bit of money, you know. Give some to Captain Morgan, you know, Henry Morgan. Good old Harry, what a lad. Anyway, ahoy hoy shippies. So December tends to be a pretty slow period, so I decided to only publish 2 episodes this month, and instead use the time available to work on the coming releases in next year, which will be pretty big, especially in January. And if you're curious for what's coming, there are a few indicators and a pretty direct teaser in the recent episodes, so watch them with the ads on. And if you still need more teasers, well, you can just take a look at what I'm drinking. Anyway, to fill out the time gap, I'm going to talk a bit about the state of the channel, the future of it, and also some questions, both that I've seen frequently posted, but also those sent in to me for this episode specifically. So, I don't know, let's dig into it. And looking back at 2025, it's definitely been an interesting year here on YouTube and the world overall, definitely. And I won't really talk about the world or politics here, but I will mention it slightly since I do think it could be relevant. To cut to the chase, views on my videos have been down this year compared to the previous ones, and I mean, there could be a lot of factors to it. Maybe people have not been too interested in the topics I've covered this year. Maybe people have not liked my changes in narration and stylistic changes from older videos. But it could also be factors, you know, outside of my control. There could be something in the algorithm, praise the algorithm. I know some people who want to watch my videos have not received them in their sub feed. Others receive them all the time, they say. Other history YouTubers say that AI slop content draws a lot of attention. And like I mentioned before, it could also be that the current world situation and economy is drawing people's time and attention away from, you know, watching pirate videos on YouTube, which, you know, isn't, you know, the biggest priority. You know, it's just for fun. I don't really see how I can impact this in a major way, apart from trying to release videos that I think people might find interesting. and otherwise just trying to improve the episodes in, the small ways that I can. Though in some ways I do not even think it is about quality, because a lot of my old videos that have a lot of views and inferior research, bad narration, and subpar editing, objectively they're just worse. So as long as I can pay the bills and buy food and, just make a living off YouTube, I will continue making these videos. And hey, here's the interesting part. Despite the videos of this year getting lower views than the previous ones, ad revenue has actually been up. So meaning that I've actually made more money this year. Not only in general, but also when comparing new videos to old ones. What I mean is that new videos of a similar length to a comparable old one have received more ad revenue. I don't know, maybe the higher quality makes people watch for longer. Maybe there are changes in the algorithm or the monetization system. Either way, I don't mind this. I don't care about views. It's really the money I care about. Because, I literally need to live. Some people call me greedy or whatever, dude, I make below minimum wage. Just let me fucking live in peace, I guess. And, my optimal goal, and, this is kind of out of my control, would be that every release would get between like 20 to 40,000 views. This has nothing to do with views in truth, but rather the estimated ad revenue based on the average this year, and it would put the channel in a very secure position. I prefer to make high-quality niche content on interesting topics to a small audience, rather than watering it down for, mass appeal or whatever. And if you enjoy this format, then, the best way to support the channel is via Patreon or channel membership. I would really prefer it if all of my regular viewers would subscribe on Patreon for like $1 a month, because that would guarantee that I could continue to release videos basically indefinitely. And it would also ensure that you can watch the videos without ads. Some people complain about the YouTube ads. I don't like ads. I think it interrupts the experience. But it's the world we live in. It's the only thing I've got at the moment. I don't have infinite money. I wasn't born rich or whatever. And I'm not gonna complain about it either. In fact, I'm grateful for YouTube, allowing me and other people this opportunity to express ourselves and make a living from it. And of course, I want to take this moment as well to thank, the Patreon and Patreon supporters and channel members and everyone who has donated. I mean, you guys are awesome. It's Patreon membership has more than doubled this year. This makes me really happy, because, it shows, that the work I produce, that it's actually worth, paying for, that it's actually worth something substantial, And I'm glad, that you guys can watch and enjoy the episodes without, having to be bothered by ads and what are they called, sponsorship placements and stuff like that. And, if Patreon support increases, I will soon be able to pay my rent entirely off Patreon. And if combining YouTube membership and Patreon revenue, this is already the case. And, that's a big weight off my shoulders, that's something I don't have to worry about. So again, to everyone, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think Patreon and channel membership is going to be especially worth it in 2026. Because, just like in October and November of this year, I'm going to release one video every week. However, I'm probably also going to take 1 week off every month. That is because some videos take longer than others to produce. And I also want to start working on some other projects, some of which are channel related. But they're in such an early state that I don't want to talk about them just yet. I tend to be very secretive about the stuff I work on because I don't want to build up expectations that I can't fulfill, basically. Regardless, you will still get more than 2 hours of Gold Gunpowder every month, for a very cheap price. Just gonna take a little sip here before it goes cold, because cold coffee is criminal. I guess you could also say that hot rum is criminal, but it's not really hot. It's kind of like lukewarm, I guess. I also wanted to show and talk about the videos which people were the most interested in this year, and my interpretation of these statistics. It's really no contest. The best performing videos were the one on the top 5 pirate bases, the one on ship repairs, and the one on Tortuga. On one hand, this is a bit bad because it shows that people are interested in these very specific topics from the golden age of piracy. Most videos average around 10,000 views. Recent releases have actually performed worse. And I'd prefer if most people would have like a general interest in pirates and that every video would average between 20 and 40,000, like I said previously, instead of the trend of this year of a few topics just exploding, Mostly because I can't focus the channel around ship repairs and pirate bases, there's just not enough. I'm not gonna make any more videos on ship repairs. That video covered everything there is to say. As for pirate bases, there's definitely a decent amount of material there, and we'll get our next release in January. But again, nothing I can focus the channel around. That said, I'm glad that both of these videos performed so well. In the ship repairs episode, I spent a lot of time working on the animations. It was partly a proof of concept of what I want the channel to be. If I had unlimited resources and the ability to hire a team, the videos would be fully animated in this sort of style, period paintings and drawings, that are edited and animated, the people and the stuff in the moving, the seagulls and the oceans, the ships. I would also like to have some sort of cool environment to record myself in, like some sort of older building from the Middle Ages or like the early modern age, like a tavern or some house with like live candles and smoke, tobacco smoke, some nice decor, that'd be sick, that'd be really cool. Since, the emphasis of the channel is really to provide, an immersive experience, kind of like you would be taken back to like a tavern and like listening to a pirate like tell you a story or something, or you're in like a gentleman's study or something like that, And, it's also, the music I primarily use compositions from the 16th to 18th centuries performed by John Sayles on the guitar. I always post the music I use in the video description, so you can go and take a look at it. And again, it's to sort of nail home that vibe where it's like you're going back in time, you're in this pirate tavern or like an 18th century public house or something, But, sadly, I've had to cut down on animations. A lot of people don't actually seem to care about them that much, for them to be decisive at least. And they're very time-consuming to make, I think like the first minute on the ship repairs video, that took me like an entire day to make, if not more. And in an entire day, like if I don't spend animating, if I just like edit a video, I can do like 20 minutes of a video, otherwise. As for the Tortuga video, I'm very glad that it performed so well as it did. It's a niche topic. I do think this video is actually the single best comprehensive source on Tortuga available to most people on the internet. A lot of the research is cobbled together from sources unavailable to most people. A lot of them are also in French, so I had to read French. My French is pretty bad. I had to translate some of it, but the research, it did require a lot of work from my part. In the end, it is a video I'm very happy with, and I'm glad that it received and is still receiving due attention. So that's great. That's great. And I hope the the coming episodes on pirate bases, you probably you can probably guess which one the next one is gonna be. It's gonna be special. It's gonna be special. I'll tell you that much. Other videos that performed less well. I'm surprised the video on pirate pets didn't explode. I felt like this would be a popular topic. Also, the video on fire ships, that one, I'm kind of shocked actually how badly it performed. Since, ship videos tend to be popular, this one is about fiery and exploding ships, and it's an unconventional tactic that tends to draw in attention. So yeah, that kind of baffled me. It has above typical viewer attention and an average view duration. Yeah, it's very strange. So, there's nothing in it to indicate that it would have performed so badly as it did. So, I mean, if you didn't watch the video, I'm curious to hear why, especially if you've seen my other ship videos and if you're like interested in ships and stuff. The ones like, pirate ships explained, the 5 legendary pirate ships, and the frigate video, all of them performed well. This was kind of just an odd outlier for whatever reason. I don't know, man. I don't know. Regarding video length, some people have expressed a wish for me to return to more short-form content. And I personally enjoy producing long-form more. Then again, I kind of just write the scripts, and until I've said everything I think is important and interesting, no video is like deliberately dragged out. But yeah, the best performing videos of this year have been longer than 30 minutes. Most of them receive more views than the short form content on average. And even if they receive less views than short form, they actually make more ad revenue since, people are watching it for longer. So I'm going to continue with the current format where every other episode is long form and every other episode is short form. So, hopefully everyone is going to be happy, but but let me have another sip here. Here we go. Anyway, yeah, I think that about covered everything that I wanted to say about the state of the channel and, its future. Meaning that, it's time to dive into the frequently asked questions and the questions and answers section. Now, I received a lot of questions, and sadly, I don't have the time to answer all of them. So I'm going to focus on questions that are primarily related to the channel in general instead of, questions about specific historical matters. Then again, like if you feel that there is a question you have that like about some historical matter that you can't get answered through the videos or whatever, I mean, just put it in the comment section to this video, and if I think it's interesting, I'll probably like write a reply to you, and we'll sort it out. There were also multiple people who basically asked the same question. So even though I might not phrase the question exactly the way you put it, I hope it will still answer what you wanted to ask me, and that the answer will be satisfying to you. So yeah, let's get into it. So a lot of people ask me if I'm going to make a video on insert topic here, like whatever. Like some topic like related to pirates or something about the channel or whatever. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my answer is basically that I don't want to confirm or deny anything because, I mean, I kind of said this previously, I don't want to promise anything that I can't hold, right? Now, some of you know that I don't take video suggestions. I mean, you're always free to like post them or whatever, it's just that I'm not going to read it or listen to it. And that is basically because I've never seen a suggestion that, I mean, frankly, I haven't thought of myself. It's ideas are cheap. And provided that I won't stop making these videos for whatever reason, I will probably at some point cover everything related to the Golden Age of Pirates at some point. It's only that I can't guarantee when. I tend to map out what videos I want to make for the coming years. So I have like 2026 is like all planned out. 2027 is like all planned out. I have stuff for 2028, But I change these plans very often due to a variety of factors, such as like what I think the current audience is interested in, what time and resources I have available, and also what I'm interested in covering myself, And that is, why I never confirm when a video on a topic will be released, unless if I made that video and, I'm intending to release it like next week or next month or something. like someone asked me back in, I think it was October, like, will you ever cover like the Knights Hospitallers? And I said, yeah, because in November I think I had finished the video on the Knights Hospitallers, and it was ready to be released, so it was gonna come. um, but yeah, as long as I can pay the bills from making these videos, and I don't find anything that I enjoy more or pays better or about as much, I will cover everything at some point. Excuse me. I just can't say when. I just can't say when. Now, if there is some topic that fits within my regular format that you really want to see, I do accept paid requests. The reason why I demand money for it is basically because I usually try to make videos that I think will appeal to the audience and thus provide a return on investment for my work hours. And if I'd make a video that one specific person wants for their interests, there isn't the same guarantee that it would pay back in views. So the payment is essentially there to guarantee that I can, pay my rent and food and, for, investing time in not getting a regular job. This doesn't mean that my ideas always get views, like I said previously. Some videos this year, like I said, have performed quite badly despite my expectations. See the Fireship video. And, it's also the reverse. I also expected the 5 land battles to perform well based on, the 5 sea battles from 2024. It performed well, so I thought land battles, it's going to go well. But it flopped. It really flopped. And, the episode on the swivel gun, it was kind of a throwaway episode. I kind of figured that I had to make it, and I thought it was kind of fun, but I didn't expect it to perform well, but it has actually performed decently and is still doing so, so what do you know? But, if I make these mistakes, it's on me, and I've only got myself to blame, and I don't want to hold up anyone else, to that. I don't want to put anyone else in the firing line, so to speak. I also get asked quite a lot if I'm going to cover some specific time period outside of the golden age of piracy. And to me, this is kind of like going to a pizza shop and asking for sushi, or going to like some channel that's like covering, I don't know, World War II, and then you ask them like, when are you going to cover Desert Storm or the Crimean War or something like that. And I've stated in the channel description what the channel is about. It should also be pretty clear by the channel name, profile picture, and almost the hundreds of videos I've uploaded what the channel is about. The reason why I specialize in a single time period is, for one, there's a lot to cover. There's a lot. And as I indicated in the previous point, I have enough material for like several years to come. And even when I've gone through all of that material, I can just remake old videos based on new insights, new editing techniques, new research that comes out. New research is coming out all the time. And, also reintroduce the topic to new viewers that may not have seen the previous iterations. And, by specializing, I can also dive more into detail, whereas if I had to cover multiple time periods, none of these videos would be as thorough. And I think the question also comes from an idea that pirates are all the same regardless of the time period. And my channel isn't really a pirate channel. It's more so a 17th to early 18th century colonial sea rover channel. But I mean, it is of a problem with the nomenclature. What do we call them? They're usually called pirates. I don't want to get into it here. I talk about it in other videos, and I'm going to talk about it more in the future. So I don't want to do it here. If you want to learn more about why this period is so unique and why this group of pirates deserves to be studied in isolation, I'd suggest watching my timeline video on the Golden Age. It's a bit old at this point, but I think it suffices. It's also quite popular. I'd also suggest the video Why Pirate History is Important, and also the video How the Buccaneers Dominated the Caribbean. It's kind of a new video. It's very good. I also get asked quite a lot, and I sort of answered it. Why did I delete a specific video? And I tend to delete older videos because I tend to remake them with better research material and editing techniques. Like I made a video on Tortuga some 4-5 years ago or something. I deleted it before making the new Tortuga video, which is infinitely many times better. Many times better. I also received questions related to pirate media and fiction, like just in general, my opinions on it, stuff I recommend and such. And sadly, I can, to all of them, I basically give the same answer, which, I mean, sadly, again, it might disappoint you. I don't really care that much. I don't really care that much. I haven't seen that many pirate movies or read that many pirate novels. I haven't played too many of the games. I've played Sid Meier's Pirates, played a bit of Assassin's Creed 4 back in the day, like 11 years ago or something. I think longer. I think it released in like 2013. So that's like 12 years ago that I played it. But yeah, I basically only enjoy the history, and just because something has pirates in it doesn't mean that I will care about it, to be honest. I've made some videos in the past on pirate media, and I do occasionally make references to popular pirate media, but that's mostly for the sake of pedagogy, like to make something more relatable to people, you know, to sort of anchor it in something that might be more familiar or whatever. All right, getting into specific questions that I received for the Q&A. What inspired you for the name Golden Gunpowder? I think it's just that gold and gunpowder are two things heavily associated with pirates. You know, their primary weapons were gunpowder weapons. They liked gold. They liked gold. They liked gold, just like me. Of course, they did plunder more silver, but You know, there's also a rhythm to it. Golden gunpowder. It sounds kind of melodic or whatever, rhythmic, something like that. I remember some other names I had back in the day were Maps and Mysteries, Tides and Treasures. Actually, I just think I came up with that one right now. If I made the channel today, I probably would have named it something like Beyond the Line. I like that one. Pirates Code would probably be a good channel name, since you see it and you instantly know, like, oh, it's gonna be about pirates. And I know, like, some of the real history buffs are gonna say, like, oh no, it was never called the Pirate Code. Calling the channel a general history would be pretty cheeky. I like that. It would also have been fun to have named the channel after some period authors, like Captain Johnson. That would have been fun. That was like the alias of the guy who published A General History of the Pirates. Naming it Exquemelin would have been fun. It would have been appropriate also because the videos have a similar message and alignment to the original Exquemelin. If you want to learn more about him and like his message and whatever, I do have some videos about that as well. The Olane video goes into it. The aforementioned Buccaneers video goes into it. How do you do your research? This is probably a question that could take up an entire video, especially if I could recognize and remember all of the small details that goes into the research that I take for granted, which other people might not. But basically, I read books. Either I select books on specific topics, if it relates to like the coming video I want to make. Like for example, let's look at the videos here. Let's go into the channel and take a look some video, because I don't want to I don't want to be obvious with the spoilers. I have examples for future videos, but don't want to say it. But yeah, the Tortuga video, or like the video on the forgotten language of pirates. How did real pirates actually speak? I read, for that video, I read like a book on. It's basically based on a book that talks about how pirates actually spoke, like maritime accents and such. It's a really good video. It didn't get a lot of views, so if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. It's very interesting. The research for me was very mind-blowing. I also studied linguistics at university, so it was very interesting to make for me personally. And I got to use some of my actual credentials for it, so that was interesting. Yeah, big side note, big side note. Yeah, but yeah, if there's like a book which relates to like a common topic, I'll read that one. Or I just read books in general about which cover in general pirate, colonial, maritime history, or just the 17th and 18th century in general. And then whenever I encounter anything of interest, I make a quote or like a page reference, and I paste it into a document of notes dedicated to a topic, such as, I don't know, I got a document about boarding combat, I got a document about smugglers, and then when I get down to writing the script for that video, I go back to the page reference and, maybe I'll use the entire chapter, maybe I'll just use like a quote, like a short segment. Some videos are just summaries of few books and chapters. Typically the biographies are usually like summaries of 2 or 3 books, sometimes more. Whereas other videos are like massive patchworks of tiny bits of information from like here and there, like a bunch of different quotes. Like the frigate episode, for example. The frigate video has like a lot of... It's really compiled from a lot of small sources. But yeah, like I think the video on ship repairs, that one is... There is like no single comprehensive source I found on ship repairs in the period. So it's compiled from like a bunch of small period documents, quotes from modern books, stuff like that. It's a patchwork video, really. I do use multiple sources even on the same topic in order to cross-reference. Basically, this means that you compare what one source is saying to another to see if they agree or disagree. If they agree, that likely means that something is true. But if they disagree, I'll check if they have a source to their claim, or if there is someone like commenting on the factuality of the claim, confirming it as true or false. I said that I tend to read books like in general on the 17th and 18th century. Usually I don't like directly quote or reference those videos, or sorry, those books. I mostly read those books to just get like a general understanding of like the mindset people had, and like get context to how people live. And then like I kind of just tend to use that sort of loosely in the videos. Like it tends to improve my own understanding of how people might have thought and how they lived and stuff. And I think it helps me in like making more nuanced analysis, especially in the topics that relate to sort of like economics, stuff like that. I think now I'm going heavily off script, and this is like something which is quite complicated, so it's a bit difficult for me to explain like just offhand like this. How long do the videos take to make? That depends on the subject and the length of the video. Shorter videos I can make in like 2 days maybe. Longer ones might take more than a week. The long ones usually need between 3 to 4 days of research and writing, 1 day of narration and audio editing, and then 3 to 4 days of the final editing, putting all the images in there, like maybe doing some animations, stuff like that. I also got asked by, I think, several people about recommended reading for getting into like the history of the Golden Age of piracy. And for like starting out in the beginning, I would really recommend Pillaging the Empire by Chris Lane. This is one of those, like, there are a lot of overviews on the Golden Age of piracy, and I think this is the best one, because it covers the wider period from like 1630 to 1730, but it also covers a bit of stuff before then. It also it contextualizes the period. It doesn't only talk about like pirates in isolation. It talks about the economic factors, the societal factors, and the legal factors, why piracy like arose and that sort of stuff. So it's a very thorough book, and it's also like an easy read. It's not like difficult. There are other overviews which go into these things, but they're more complicated, so I wouldn't recommend them to like the casual reader. After you read this one, I would recommend Bennis and Lil's The Sea Rover's Practice. This is a video which mostly goes into sort of like the everyday life of pirates. So it goes into like their places they might have lived, what ships they used, how they sailed the ships, their weapons, their tactics, what they ate, their food. So yeah, it's a very like it's one of the best like overviews of this more everyday stuff. Otherwise, if there's like a specific topic you would like to get into, I would check I always put the sources to my videos in the video description, and you can look at the books there and see if they're appealing to you, and take it from there. And you can also, if you read these books, this is also something I do in my research. I check the source list of the books I read, and then I tend to go to those books and read those books as well, and it turns into a rabbit hole. Oh yeah, there's actually another book I would recommend. That is Pirates of the Americas by David F. Marley, I think he's called. That one is like, I'm just reading it at the top of my mind. It's a big book, like a catalog of a bunch of different pirates from the 17th and early 18th century. So Blackbeard, Henry Morgan, but also a bunch of these like smaller names that you may not have heard of, like Thomas Whetstone, I think, is in there, and like, yeah, very small names. Some of these biographies are just like a few paragraphs long. Some of them are pages long. So this is like the best source of like getting quick summaries of individual pirates. I use it quite a lot. It's a very good book. It's very long. But yeah, if you're looking for like pirate biographies, this is, in short, this is like a good one. Looking back on when you started doing videos, has your appreciation of pirates changed? What about piracy fascinates you the most? The reason I started making pirate videos, I was kind of reading about pirates in 2017 and 2018, and I realized there was no channel making videos on pirates, so I kind of understood that I could fill a niche. There was like, no one was doing it, so I might as well do it and dominate it. But, I did think, pirates were cool and stuff. I liked pirates as a kid. But over the years of researching the topic more, I mostly got invested in the economic and legal aspects of 17th century piracy, and that is why my videos focus on it so heavily, What other eras of history are you interested in? So, I did actually have a second channel where I covered other periods of history. I mean, I still have the channel, it's just like I don't upload videos there anymore. And there I made some videos on 17th century Sweden. Eastern Europe in the Viking Age was also a big focus. I tried making a couple of videos on the Middle Ages because I wanted to go more into medieval history. So I made a video on slavery in the Middle Ages. That one is really good. I highly recommend watching that one. It's also quite related. It is a bit of a prologue, actually, to the Golden Age of piracy, because, the institution of slavery, pirate history is all about slavery, and the institution of slavery in the colonial world, it really has its roots in medieval slavery, and the slavery in Iberia. Slavery disappeared from... it basically disappeared from Northern Europe, like England and France. And it's interesting because, like, in the early 17th century, in France, in England, even high up in, like, the aristocracy, like the king and stuff, they were very much against slavery. So it's interesting that slavery reappeared in the colonies. But that was, like, basically inherited from the Iberian slavery, which... slavery in Iberia never really ended in the early modern age, and they basically passed on the institution into the Americas. A lot of it derived from Muslim slavery in southern Spain, Andalusia. they they also had early sugar plantations in Andalusia, which is why the Castilians, they sort of inherited the sugar planting from them, and they started using African slavery, same as the Andalusians, and they imported it to their first colonies in the Canary Islands, and then the Americas. Same as the Portuguese, but in Brazil. In Brazil. Um, as for other eras of history, I actually really enjoy ancient history, Stone and Bronze Age. I like the mystery, while it's also very interesting to see the connections between this like very rudimentary time and also compare it to like later periods and also our own days. A very interesting like sort of recent finding from the Neolithic age or whatever is like a fat factory from, I think it was in Germany. Basically, there were like Stone Age people they had basically set up a sort of like a factory environment where people were like extracting the fat from bones, and they might have done it to good nutrients, or just because they enjoyed fat, because fat is good. Fat is good. Viking Age, of course, is very interesting, but I mostly like the economic aspects of the Viking Age. My other channel, Steerman, it focused heavily on the trade conducted by the Vikings. I used to actually be a huge Egyptophile when I was a kid. My mom even took me to Egypt when I was 9. That was amazing. I like certain centuries of the Middle Ages. 14th and the 15th especially. I like those periods. They're kind of nuts, kind of crazy. The 16th century is also a very interesting period, and I wish there was enough general interest in this period so that I could cover it more on YouTube. I really like the 16th century. It's a crazy period, crazy period. I mean, it's just like, it's this transition between like the medieval and modern periods. So you have all of these ideas, the colonization, all of these weird technologies, and, the Renaissance. People have hopes for the world, but people going very extreme and like committing a lot of horrible atrocities. It's very similar to the 17th century, which is what the channel focuses on, which 17th century is just like one of the most insane periods in human history, not just in Europe, not just in the Americas, also in like, in the Middle East to some extent. But especially like in China, a lot of crazy stuff going on in China. That is when the Ming dynasty collapses and the Qing arises. The Qing were they were Manchu nomads who moved into China and established a new dynasty. A lot of people died there, of course. You have the Mughal Empire in India. There were some religious uprisings in Japan. Of course, in 16th century Japan, you had the age of warring states, the long series of civil wars, really crazy period as well. Very comparable to the 16th century in Europe. But yeah, 17th century, it's crazy. That is why I focus the channel on it, and it's also why I try so hard to place piracy into this wider context and not just view pirates as like, oh, it's just pirates. They're part of this like wider historical trend, this wider societal trend of the 17th century, which extreme to say the least. I also really like the 19th century. And if you enjoy history, it's kind of hard to not like the 19th century. It's also kind of a crazy period. A lot of stuff happened. But there's also like a lot of misconceptions around it. Most people kind of bloat the importance of the industrial period and like kind of isolate industrialization to the 19th century, whereas the biggest and most important improvements of the 19th century were actually in agriculture. In agriculture. So there's a lot of misconceptions around it. What's your favorite food? Now, food and cooking is actually one of my big hobbies. I spend a lot of time baking and cooking for, friends, family, dates and such, maybe social events. So the question is, it's a bit of a private treat for me. I enjoy fresh mussels cooked in cider, usually, sometimes in wine. Serve it with garlic bread with some thyme on it. Oxtail stew is something I make quite often. I will probably have it tomorrow again. Oxtail is very cheap, it's very good. I really like tongue of beef or pork. Salmon. Salmon, I like salmon fillets, pan fried. I tend to pickle my salmon fillets in for a day or two in pickle juice, the stuff you put gherkins in. Then, fry it up as usual. That's very good. Can't go wrong with a nice cut of beef. Nice cut of beef, also good for a date night. I mean, cooking is, of course, it's a very good way to impress the girls. It's always a good topic of conversations, especially if you're going abroad. Cooking and food is all something everyone understands wherever they're from, wherever they are from. Everyone likes to eat. And, it might sound like I'm a big meat eater, but I do actually eat a lot of vegetarian and vegan food. It's cheap. A lot of legumes, beans, lentils, peas, usually with a base of tomato or peppers. There's this misconception that vegetarian and vegan food is expensive, which, yeah, if you buy all of the sort of weird processed food, yeah, it's expensive, but you can make very cheap vegan and vegetarian food if you use base ingredients. I need more of the good stuff. It's cold now. Yeah, still good. I would say that paprika is my favorite spice, but I also use thyme quite a bit. Time for thyme. As for recipes I have invented myself, I'm gonna talk about this. It's my Q&A. When I was living in England, I designed a pretty good, damn good Stilton pasta. I like to use local ingredients for the cooking and stuff. I also got my own recipe for hot chocolate. It's very decadent, very decadent. And I made a recipe for banana cake. It's my own recipe. It's very simple. Someone might have done it at some point, I don't know, but I'm gonna take credit for it. And I mean, if you want any of these recipes or whatever, if you like cooking, just poke me in the comments or DMs or whatever, and I'll toss something your way, So yeah, those are the questions I had good answers for. If you felt that your question went unanswered and you really want an answer to it, I might be able to give a reply in the comments. If you have a question on something historical, I'll probably answer if it's interesting to me, or I might recommend a video to you, or yeah, I think this is the best way of tackling them. Yeah, and I do actually have some questions for you guys, for the viewer. I want to know, which videos this year did you enjoy the most? What kind of content do you want to see more of? And are there any changes you want to see to the channel, the style of the videos, video format, and that sort of stuff? Just whatever. Let's hear what you have to say. Anyway, I guess that will be it for this year's channel update, Q&A, and frequently asked questions. Like I said previously, if there are any questions or such you really want answered, you can, or if my answers now gave rise to some new questions, you can post them in the comments here or send them to me, whatever, and I'll see if I can reply, if I have a good answer to it, or if I have the time or anything, stuff like that. And yeah, keep enjoying. There's not going to be any more uploads for this year. The next video is going to be in, I think, the 2nd of January, so in 2 weeks, about. Until then, there's a lot of videos on the channel, some that you probably have not seen, and go take a look, see if there's anything you enjoy. And enjoy your Christmas, and enjoy your new year, and we'll see what the next year has to bring.